Welcome back to the Patriots Report, part of the Bleav Network, presented by FanDuel. My name is Christopher Price, the Boston Globe and bostonglobe.com. Joined, as always, by my podcast partner and two-time Super Bowl champion, Chris Hogan. Chris, we've got football.
I know.
Something resembling football. T-shirts and shorts and helmets. It's OTAs.
Yeah.
And we saw the first OTA session, the first open OTA session on Wednesday, their second of the spring. We'll get into some details here shortly. But tell me, as a player, because there was a lot of first day of school energy yesterday, what's the most important thing that you remember about OTAs, and what do you remember about your time in New England?
I mean, OTAs it's great, right? That first day of school energy is real just because you've been conditioning and in the weight room and in the meeting rooms, and you really haven't had a chance to really get on the field as a team, right? So it's kind of the first time that you get to go out there in a team setting, go through installs, but you also have the rookies there that are now going to kind of be in full swing of, on the field. You get to see them for the first time. The coaches, you're around the coaches. So it's like you're back to football, right? You can kind of feel training camp and mini camp is right around the corner, and you can kind of start getting more excited about this season, right? Because it's like it's June, like what, in a couple of days, this is gonna fly by. Then you're gonna have the month of July, and then it's the season's right around the corner. So I think there's that little bit of momentum that starts building up where you're like, okay, cool, like we're done with the workouts, we're done with not playing football. This is back to football, new season, new energy. We got a couple new guys. We got whatever it is. So I think it's an exciting time. For me, it was exciting. I mean, listen, I was at every OTA that was ever scheduled in my NFL career. I don't think I could afford to miss OTAs no matter where I was. So I was always there. I always looked forward to it because I loved it's a really good opportunity for the coaches to evaluate you. So as a young guy, it was great for me, no matter how many, maybe it's a good opportunity to get more reps. Because once you get into training camp, those guys, like for me early on in my career, those reps go down quite significantly. So OTAs is a great time to kind of showcase your abilities and what you're able to do, and how well that you can study and know the playbook and do different things. And so it's for Drake and for the new guys, Romeo, this is a great time for them to really start building on that chemistry and getting to know each other. So it's a great for a receiver and quarterbacks. I think it's awesome. OTAs is a really good time, and for a couple of different reasons. You get to work with on routes versus air, right? Versus really nothing. There's no contact, or there shouldn't be contact, right? For NFL rules. And that's a great time for them to really start working on timing, the relationships. Drake is reading body language and how guys get in and out of breaks. And so I think these are things that he can still build on with the guys that he has in the building right now. So I think it's important. It's an important time period, and it's a great, that build up into training camp is going to start ramping up.
Not saying they haven't been on the field, because again, we've just seen one practice. They've had two.
Yeah.
They have today off. We're going to see him again next week. No Kayshon Boutte, no Matt Collins. Now, one of the guys who I thought did a really good job yesterday, taking advantage of probably extra reps, was Pop. He had 4 catches from Drake. These guys are getting a little bit of an opportunity here. There was no Carlton Davis. There was no Christian Gonzalez. We saw a couple of young guys at cornerback. Talk a little bit about the chance that these guys have, the opportunity that some of these young guys have that maybe you had when you were in, a similar situation earlier in your career.
Right. So like what I said, right? There's opportunities in OTAs, and it's a time where coaches can take, one of two perspectives. It's either, hey, we're going to these are our guys. We know we got our guys. These are the guys who are going to get the reps. This is what I really care about. And then you have the opposite end where it's, okay, let's get some other guys reps. Let's put some guys in different positions. Let's let's see how this guy does at the nickel, or let's see how this guy does at the slot receiver or outside and does doing these routes. So I think what's helpful, at least on offense, right? Josh is likes to have a million different personnels and multiple of different things. And last year was really the tip of the iceberg for him. I think that now going into year two and kind of knowing what he's going to have, right? I think that that room was very unknown to who was kind of be on the roster. I think we kind of have an idea of who those guys are going to be this year.
Mhm.
So he can now start to play with that. And I think it's great. Listen, Pop is one of those guys that I wasn't disappointed last year, but I was disappointed.
A little
Like
underwhelming. A
it
little
was like
underwhelming.
I kind of expect him. I do expect him to continue to his role to continue to develop. Um, and this is a good opportunity for him, right? This is kind of where you can, if guys are out or they're not showing up to OTAs for whatever reason, and I don't have a problem with that, but that's great. Like, take advantage of these opportunities, man, and make the most of it, because now you're getting all these chances for the coaches to see you perform in whatever situation or whatever scenario that they're doing in OTAs. And then going into training camp, like, you already have a leg up, right? Because they've seen you, they know it. Like, hey, Pop has put in the work. He worked his ass off in the off season and during OTAs and minicamp. Like, let's give him a shot, right? And if you continue to perform and do well, like once the pads come on and you do all the things that are asked of you, like that's a great path to getting more playing time. And that goes for any position, right? Like across the board, these OTAs, if there are guys that are hurt or not showing up or not really participating because they're rehabbing or whatever it is, like, dude, like these young guys, man, if you get thrown in there, like this is golden opportunities for you, because they're not going to come during training camp if you're not performing, right? Like all of a sudden you start doing well in OTAs and minicamp, be like, hey, cool, let's get him a couple extra reps in training camp. Let's see what he can do, sort of thing. So I loved OTAs. OTAs are great. Minicamp is great. It's a really good opportunity for guys to showcase their abilities, right? And see how hard they've been working in the offseason, bigger, faster, stronger, whatever it is. Or maybe it's mental, right? They've worked on their ability to understand the playbook better and the route concepts, or understand the defense. So it's great. I think it's a good chance for the coaches to keep evaluating these guys and kind of put the best 11 on the field, which offense, defense, special teams.
We noted that Christian Gonzalez was not there. Carlton Davis, Harold Landry, Mac Hollins, Keyshawn Booty. Any level of concern? Obviously, these are all veteran guys who've been around a little bit, have played a lot of football, who understand how to be ready for week one, set against the backdrop of his looming contract situation. Obviously, they've exercised the option for the coming year, but any level of concern for you when it comes to Christian Gonzalez not being there this week?
No, I don't. I mean, I listened to Mike's interview when he was talking to the media, and it seems like there's a good open line of communication that's going on between these guys. So I think whatever reason and whatever that is, it's really none of my business. But also, a lot of guys have their own way of training, right? So maybe Christian feels more comfortable training with his trainer back at home, and he's able to get what he needs to do and prepare himself the way that he needs to prepare to be ready for the season. And like, listen, he might show up next week, right? And he might be here, and that's really, we don't really know. I think it's beneficial to have guys in the building. um and I think for a number of different reasons, it kind of builds that team chemistry, right? To have everyone there, and there's no questions of like, why is so and so not here, and like kind of create like stupid little rumors, or oh, he's unhappy but he's really not, he's at home with his family, or he just had a kid, or he's like, we don't really know. But listen, as long as they show up mandatory stuff in minicamp and they're ready to go and they're really not missing a beat on anything, then we're good. It's just when those specific guys and they show up in minicamp, or it's like, okay, cool, you're out of shape. You don't look like you've been doing anything. And it's like, all right, well, why weren't you here? Right? Like, what were you doing? That to me sends the wrong message to the team. I don't think that's the case with any of these guys. just because of how committed they were to last season. And I think that building on going into this season, I think it's going to be important that like at some point to get everyone in the building and really start prepping for the target that's painted on the back of their jerseys this year. So um I would imagine that he's going to be here at some point. I don't really think that's a contract thing. Maybe it is, but it sounds like Mike's communicating with him, and then we get everyone in the building, and we're rocking and rolling here.
What did you think of Vrabel yesterday? You said you watched his statement to the media. Obviously, he got a few questions about his personal situation. I thought he did a little bit of filibustering, but I think that all in all, he handled it as well as you could handle it. And there seems to be momentum now moving forward. Obviously, we don't know if there's going to be anything else that's going to come out. But basically, I'm curious to get your take on how he did with his interactions with the media in his first time with the media since, I think, day one of the draft.
Yeah, I mean, like all this stuff is so interesting to me, right? It's for I don't know, a month or maybe a little bit longer, all you saw on social and in the news was Mike and and everything that was going on in his personal life. And then recently it's really quieted down, right? And it's kind of the whole Stefon Diggs thing, right? With the on the boat, right?
Exactly.
We heard about it, is everyone's talking about it, and then no one's talking about it, right? I think Mike is going to have to kind of handle whatever when the situations or the questions come up, and it's really none of anyone's business other than him and his family and his personal life. And I think as long as he continues to kind of stay the path and stick to football, that's what he's going to do. He seems like he's got that kind of under control, and winning solves everything. Right now, they have a hell of a beginning of a schedule, start of their schedule, which we haven't talked about because I've just been drowning underwater with kid schedules. But their first half of their schedule is tough, man. It's tough. So listen, I think it's great for them. It's a great challenge. I would hate for this to ever have to come up again because at that point it has nothing to do with Mike's personal life. It has everything to do with playing football. And Mike's not out there competing. So I think as long as he keeps it to football, these guys everyone is kind of saying the right things, and it's what's best for the team. Mike and his family life is his family life, and moving on, right? And I think a lot of guys have kind of echoed that in when they've had a chance in the media to do that. And listen, couldn't be as excited as I was for the last season. I mean, this year the buildup is real. I think it's going to be it's a really good test. And if these guys come out strong, I think that New England's going to really start solidifying themselves as a good football team.
I was bracing for an on to Cincinnati moment yesterday. If there were network TV guys there trying to push him a little bit and trying to get more, I was bracing for one of those. We're just focused on football. We're just focused on football moving forward. So I think he handled it as well as you could handle it. I will say this: going on the road this year is going to be really tough. It's going to be that.
What a
scab that they're going to continue to pick at that scab, fair or not.
But like, how does the runner up in the National Football League go on the road for the first 5 weeks in a row? I mean, that's and not to mention go overseas.
Yeah,
that's
it is.
It's
going to be. It's a difficult schedule. I will say this, and I did a solo pod where I kind of went through wins, losses. If they take care of their business, if they take care of what they need to take care of within the division. Let's say they go 5-1 in the division, which I think is a realistic level of expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is a path to 10 wins or more for this team.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there are all sorts of winnable games there. The Raiders
they're all winnable, and to be honest with you, I think that first quarter really is going to set the tone for how this team is going to perform, right? Yeah. And it's either going to be hey, we're playing well, yeah, sure, we might drop one, or we might have a tough game. We go to Seattle, tough game in Chicago, but it's going to set the tone for is the sense of urgency? Are we hitting the panic button like week 5 when we're playing Buffalo and or week 4 whenever we go to Buffalo in the new stadium? Or are we like, okay, cool, like we've had some tough games, we've been on the road, like we're good, we're playing good football, and like we're okay, right? So I just think that first half of that schedule is going to be a good challenge for them.
A game that could really swing momentum one way or another in that first 4 because they're at Seattle,
Yep.
home against Pittsburgh, at Jacksonville, and at
Yep.
Buffalo.
Yep.
Jacksonville is the game that, and having played down there early in the season, where it's a 500,000 degrees.
But it's good for us though because it's August, right? So hopefully we get some hot days in August for training camp, and hopefully we get a little. It's not like we're going down there in December where we've been practicing in.
That's fair.
In the 20 degrees, and we're not really acclimated to heat at all. So I love going down to South Florida in the middle of or in the beginning of the season, just because there is a little bit of you're a little used to playing in the heat and dealing with those kind of conditions.
It's gonna suck. It is, man. Jacksonville's probably my least favorite spot. I have no problem saying that. I do. Jacksonville in September is just awful. It is, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be humid. It's gonna be like 90 degrees. It's gonna be like 85 and 100% humidity at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
The place is gonna be all jacked up, But again, you look at this schedule, there are some potential potholes here for this team. Yeah. But again, for me, it just comes back to the idea is if they finish 5-1 in the division,
yeah,
and they get to that last third of the season where they're playing like the Jets, they're home against the Dolphins.
Yeah,
that is a path to double-digit wins, and theoretically, you're challenging the Bills for the division. You're going to be 1-2 one way or another with the Bills for the division, and you can get back to the playoffs.
Totally, 100%. There's a very real path for them. I think the expectation this year is playoffs, right? For me, at least, I think the expectation is to get back to where you were, start from last year. Take care of your business, within the division, and kind of, get a couple good road wins against some good teams, and listen. I'll call it right now, but I would not be surprised for New England to go into Seattle and beat them. First game of the year. Sometimes it's sloppy football.
That's the thing.
Guys haven't played, right? So the beginning of the season, to be as hard as it is, and as much as we're on the road and playing good teams, you and I both know the way that the offseason is structured and the way training camp and the preseason, the starters don't play a ton, right? So that first couple of games, it can be a little sloppy, right? So I think that going into it, I think that this team, right, and I think Mike will do a good job and the staff will do a good job, but it's hey, let's get these guys let's get them as many live game reps as possible, so we can be prepared to go into week 1 and just be firing on all cylinders and not have to wait till week 4 to, really start playing our best football. So I think as prepared as they can be is going to be really important this year.
I'm going to run down the schedule for you and just kind of stop me if you hear something that you want to talk about or you're intrigued by, or, whatever the case may be. We talked about the first 4.
Yep.
And they open in Seattle on Wednesday night, 2 days after Labor Day. Get right into it. You're right in the thick of it, man. And that's going to be an emotional night. It's going to be one of the, they're raising the banner.
Yep.
I do think there's something to your point about early season football, catching a team unawares.
Yep.
The unknown, you don't know what you don't know yet about a lot of, about your team in a lot of situations. So that's going to be an interesting setup here.
That's a different team too now.
Yeah.
Right. They're missing their running back that ran all over us. They got the receiver Jackson, but he didn't have a game against us. So and guess what? This is the team that you've most recently played. So we got the playbook in front of us, and we can study them. So again, I know what those banner nights are like, and there's a lot of distractions, and there's so much going on, and like, oh, let's talk about last year and how well we did. But it's a good opportunity for them to go into Seattle's home, and the Big 12 or whatever they call it, and um, steal one from them. I wouldn't say steal, but get a good win against Seattle.
It's loud there.
Yeah,
Loud.
it's gonna be
Off the charts loud.
it's gonna be crazy. That
I'm
environment's gonna
I'm
be
I'm
wild.
I'm excited because
Yeah.
I've never seen a game there. I've never been there. It's supposed to be just phenomenal, just a phenomenal environment. So I'm looking
That's gonna be wild.
come home. You got 11 days between that and home game against the Steelers, and then you are on the road in Jacksonville, and then you go to Buffalo, the new Highmark Stadium,
New stadium.
for the
Yep.
first time on Sunday, October 4th at 1:00. We've talked about this before. The Bills, for me, based on what they did this offseason, moving into a new stadium, some of the moves that they made, I'm fascinated by this team. I think there's
Mhm.
great boom bust potential with the Bills
Totally.
this year. You can look at, I wouldn't be surprised if they went 14-3. I wouldn't be surprised if they went 7-10.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
So I'm cautious about leaning one way or another that game. Then you come home and you face the Raiders and the Jets in
Win-win.
back-to-back weeks.
Yep. Win-win.
You're in good shape.
Yep.
After that rough start, after those first 4 games. Thursday night game in Chicago against the Bears on October 22nd. Then you travel to Miami to face the Jets, or Miami to face the Dolphins on November 1st. Again, an extended stretch coming off that Thursday game. They have, I think it's 3 short weeks this year. Now the short weeks are tough, but you also get more time on the back end to prepare for your next opponent. Home against the Packers, then off to Germany.
Yep.
For the Detroit Lions.
Oh, Germany's later in the season, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Germany is November 15th. Then you have the bye week, roughly middle of the season, week 11.
It's a good time.
Good as you're going to get it. Yep. Much better than last year. You have a road game. You cap off Thanksgiving weekend with a road game at SoFi Stadium against the Los Angeles Chargers. That is going to be no easy feat.
No.
Then you got the Bills at home, Vikings at home, then road game against the Chiefs on the 21st of December. That's going to be really interesting because I don't want to sit here right now and try to predict 7 months from now what Patrick Mahomes' knee is going to look like.
Yeah, but what is that team going to look like too?
That's exactly. You don't know the situation. You don't know where they are, all of it. So then you get to the last 1, 2, 3, 4 games of the season. You have 4 games. You have some winnable games down the stretch. The Jets, home against the Broncos, home against the Dolphins.
Yep.
That's, again, I'll go back to my original point. You take care of business within the division.
Yep.
You go 10-7, you get back to the playoffs. And then you get in the tournament, and we all know anything can happen from there.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's some games, in there. The Chargers, the real test for this team, right? The Packers at home. I know that's NFC, right? That's not within the division, but still, like, these are really good. Those are good wins for a team that needs to have good wins against good teams going into, the second and third half of the season, and then going into like kind of preparing themselves to try to make it to the playoffs. So with the Packers, the Chargers, Vikings, Thursday night against Chicago, the Germany game is like, I don't know. It's kind of like a toss up, right? It's hard. Who travels the best? Who's the most prepared? Who plays well overseas? At that point, who's the healthiest, right? Like we have to talk about that, right? And so like again, the first half of the season is really going to set up the tone, right? And how this team is going to perform going into that second and third part of the season, and then kind of like how this whole season is going to unfold, right? How is Drake playing? How is Romeo Dobbs fitting into the equation, right? How is the defense, and then obviously getting guys healthy, and what's the offensive line looking like? So there's a lot of questions, and I think a lot of those will be answered by the first couple of games of the season, right? Like we're going to know where Will Campbell sits, right, on the offensive line, or how they're kind of whatever they're messing around with. And then, so it's a really good test for them for the first 4 games of the season. It really is. And um I think that maybe when I look at it, it's like, dang, like there's no like real these are all tough games, but
Yeah.
I think for this team, I think it's good, and it's going to be a challenge, and I think that they should be challenged. And all of a sudden, you go out and let's just say they go 2-2. Like I think that's good for that team and the chemistry and the morale. And it's like, hey, like, all right, let's go. Like we went 2-2, we beat some good teams, and we lost maybe a couple, but like we're playing good football. Like let's go into the season kind of like we're either going to be underdogs. We have that target painted on our back. Everyone's circling New England now, on their schedule. So our home games, we need to defend. We didn't have ton of those. It feels like last season. So we got to defend our own, our home turf, and then we go on the road and play well and see how the chips fall at the end of the season.
We've talked to a few guys already, and they mentioned the fact that they need to keep that warrior mentality.
100%.
Going perfect on the road, staying perfect on the road. The other thing too is that, and you mentioned this, every single team is going to have this game circled on their calendar.
100%. Yep, absolutely.
This is going to, in many cases, for a lot of teams, this is going to be their Super Bowl.
Yep.
Can you imagine the Raiders beating the AFC champions the the 5th game of the season? It's going to be one of those games. The Jaguars, the Jets, the Dolphins, they are all going to use the Patriots as a measuring stick. And this wasn't necessarily the case last year. A win over the Patriots this year for those teams means something.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd put Pittsburgh in that category too, to be honest.
Yeah, there's again, we'll go back to the analogy. I think you put it perfectly. The bullseye on their back. We are taping this on Thursday, May 28th. We are 3 days from AJ Brown Day.
AJ Brown Day.
People in New England are very, very excited about it. People, are across the region are overjoyed at the possibility of a new number 11 in New England. I was curious if you had any new thoughts. I know we've talked about this an awful lot. I talked about this on the radio the other day, and I'm curious to get your take on this. There are 2 teams out there that would worry me if I'm a Patriots fan. The latest report is that the Patriots have not, they haven't agreed to give up a 1. And maybe I'll, get your take on this here. But there are 2 teams out there, the Chiefs and the Rams, who have both of their picks, or their number 1 pick, their number 2 pick. They've shown an affinity in the past for giving up picks in the name of veteran talent.
Yep.
They are in, at least maybe the Chiefs, it's a little bit different for the Chiefs, but both of them are in win now mode. Both of them have a really good quarterback, and both of them have the financial flexibility to take on a guy like AJ Brown at this stage in their team building process. If one of those 2 teams gets into the mix, then I think that Howie Roseman would be well served to play one team against each other. I'm not saying he's not doing that already, but I think that there is an air of inevitability to AJ Brown coming to New England. It's just a matter of, can Brett Veach or Les Snead screw it up at this point?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you've listened to anything that anyone in Philadelphia is talking about, it's like AJ Brown's already out the door. I think the team that probably would worry me the most is Sean McVay would probably wants to win now, right? And they got close last year. I think that if you're looking at the MVP quarterback, the guys that he has on the outside, I think, like, to me, I'd be throwing anything I could to get another receiver opposite of Puka and the other guys that he has, and like, let's go win now, right? So,
and they love trading away those picks. The Rams more than anyone.
They've done it.
Yeah, I think they have 4 picks in next year's draft already, but they still have their 1 and their 2.
Yeah, and Kansas City, I think, it's a toss-up just because of what's going on at the quarterback position right now, right? I mean, listen, I fully expect him to come back and be fine and be the quarterback that he's always been. I mean, but like, listen, that's a concern a little bit, and how the Chiefs played last year. I wouldn't be overly excited about going to join that team, and then you look at what the Rams were capable of doing last year. Like, yeah, that's a enticing opportunity for a receiver to go play with another great quarterback. So at the end of the day, it's really probably gonna come down to whichever team is willing to give up that one. And if we're not willing to give it up, I doubt that AJ Brown kind of makes his way to New England, which I know people would be upset about, but like also it is what it is, right? Like we got guys in the building. We got to where we got to last year with the guys that we had. We added Romeo and like I'm okay, right, without AJ Brown coming into the picture. Now, if he does, great. Like I think that's a great weapon for Drake and another talent that we've added and on the outside. And do I think that he would be successful in this offense? Like 100%. I think that AJ Brown would be a great addition. But also, I'm not going to put all my chips in to be like, hey, if he doesn't come, like season's the loss, right? Like that's not the case here. It's we don't need a number one, right? We got a bunch of guys that are gonna have a role in this offense that are very good players that are gonna be able to do some really good things. Kayshawn is coming off a good year. You got Romeo. Mac obviously showed up a ton last year. Again, talking about Pop, like get him going. And I'm good with the guys that we have. And I think for that room specifically, if we don't have AJ Brown, I think it's great for that room. It's like cool. Like we weren't willing to give up a number one because they're comfortable with us and what we're capable of doing. And Josh is not going to think twice or lose sleep over this. I don't think Drake is or anyone on that staff because you're kind of sending the message that like we're confident with the guys that we have. So it's great if we get them, and if we don't, like going into the season with a really good room, and hopefully they're going to be able to perform and do some really good things.
If you don't land AJ Brown, do you revisit Steph Diggs? Never say never.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe, right? I mean, it's not like it was a bad breakup, right? It was just kind of moving on. It's like, okay, Steph, like where are you at mentally with all of this and how do you feel? And if there's a conversation worth having, like let's have the conversation. And are you willing to come back here? It's like it's not like we got rid of you to get AJ. Like I think that it was just kind of like, hey, we're gonna kind of part ways right now at this point of where we're at. And now we're here in June and say, hey, like you don't have a home yet. And you're gonna get him probably for cheaper. And that's something to consider. And like, are you willing to come back and have the same role that you did last year and kind of give us the same amount of energy, right? Like, are you willing to do that? Are you willing to be that guy again? And I think that's part of the conversation, right? I don't need someone that's going to come back and be like, this is a revenge. Like, hey, like you got rid of me and now I'm going to be a problem. And, like, but are you willing to be the same guy and leader and captain that you were last year and try to go back to where we were? Like, yeah, 100%. I'll have that conversation with Steph all day.
It's interesting to see him on Instagram because it's nothing but him working out in South Florida.
Yeah.
And he clearly wants to play. This is not a guy who is, heading off into retirement, at least anytime soon. And it's really intriguing. The possibility of Steph Diggs returning is very intriguing. But you also bring up a really good point that, look, we have faith in the room that we have.
Yeah.
We like the guys that we have, and we want to move forward into 2026 with this group. It's Steph Diggs is endlessly fascinating on a number of levels, but it adds another layer of intrigue here. The fact that he's still out there, if potentially the AJ Brown thing does fall through.
Here's the thing: if the AJ Brown thing falls through, right? There's no panic button that we're gonna be like, hey, we need to get Steph in the building right now. I think that if AJ goes somewhere else, then we're going through the rest of June and probably a little bit into August and kind of seeing how these guys are doing, right? And it's like we're going through OTAs, we're going through minicamp, we're going through training camp, and like all the guys are performing and they're all meshing well, and Drake feels comfortable with them. Then I don't think that you mess with that at all. Now, if you go into training camp or mini camp, you're like, hey, like we're missing a little bit of that presence that Steph kind of had, that leadership that he had on the field within the locker room. Then I think maybe then we start to revisit the conversations. And if that obviously being said, like Steph doesn't have a home yet, right? Which I would probably imagine that we're getting into August with him and he's going to kind of pick and choose where he wants and kind of see how teams kind of, go into training camp and how comfortable they are at that position. And then if he doesn't have it, like yeah, let's revisit it and bring him back in. He knows the offense. It's not going to be any different. He knows Drake. He knows and Josh. So it's not like we're going to have to start from square one with him. He'll be able to come in and hit the ground running. He'll be in shape. He'll be ready to play. And I think that it would be a reasonable conversation to be had in August.
I don't know how the Chiefs haven't signed him yet. He would be perfect for that team.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways as a complementary piece of that passing game. You don't know what's going to happen with Rashee Rice. Yeah. It's just he would just appear to slot in very nicely with the Kansas City offense.
I think in Steph's position, he really holds the chips, right? I mean, listen, he wants to play, but he also is going to want to play where he wants to play. And he's not just going to take a job just because someone's offering him. So, we don't know, like someone might have offered him already, but he's like, I don't know if that's the right fit for me. So I think that for him, I think he's going to, as a veteran guy, he's going to kind of weigh his options. He's not going to be jumping at the bit to get back into OTAs or, off-season workouts. I think he's comfortable at home working out and in his own environment. And then, coming to August, it's like, okay, cool. Like, let's get back to football. Like, then I think he'll be making his decision at that point.
And that kind of goes back to the point you made off the top about veterans. Sometimes they're just more comfortable in the off season, working out with their own guys in their own facility. And then once, you kind of flip the switch in July, you're there,
totally
you're present, you're ready to roll. So
absolutely,
maybe there's something going on there. So Chris Hogan, that's all I got this week, my friend.
Great.
Love the off season. Love the off season. And it's great to be back talking about something resembling football again. X's and O's, personnel, because so much of it, as we've said this several times before, so much of it is conjecture at this time of year, where you're looking for it. How is this guy going to do?
I got a question for you, though. How did rookie minicamp go?
Rookie minicamp went well. I will say this, that Caleb Lomu looks to be, and this is, I took some of this away also from the experience yesterday. He's probably your backup right tackle at this point, and maybe a swing tackle. He does have a little bit of versatility. Demetrius Crownover is probably going to be Thayer Mumford version 2.0, where he is in there for, tight end work, extra tackle, that kind of when you get to the jumbo packages.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Yakis or Raridon yet. Okay. And so I want to see him off the edge. Yakis is supposed to be really good. Raridon, I think, has another layer in the passing game, although I think right now he's probably tight end 3 behind Hunter Henry and Julian Hill.
Yeah.
They're growing. They're a work in progress. I will say this, that this group in 2026 is not going to have the same sort of impact that the 2025 group had. I think this group, with the exception of a couple of guys, their impact is going to be felt a couple of years down the road.
Sure. I mean,
these guys were drafted. Right? Yeah. These guys were drafted more what they could become than what they are right now as fully formed prospects. The other guy, too, I think is going to make an impact this year is Quintavius Hutchkins, linebacker / special teamer, who is just perfectly suited for what Jeremy Springer wants to get done. So
great.
The good group, solid group. They don't look overwhelmed. That's the big thing that you're looking for. You're looking for these guys at this stage of their careers. You don't want to look overwhelmed. You don't want to look too, out of place, out of position. It's a matter of just getting in your playbook, figuring out the things that you need to figure out at this point in the year, and just kind of, keeping your head above water.
Yeah. Love it. Great.
So it's a good looking group, but we'll see. We'll see come July.
All right.
You got a couple of good golfers in that group too. I'll say that.
Oh, love that.
Lomu is apparently like a scratch golfer.
Okay.
So you can come up here and win some money off him this summer. Chris Hogan, as always, my friend, thank you very much for your time. Take care, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, brother. Thank you.